And we are live. Um, Welcome back to my channel. This has become successful, and I am your able host, Yemi Osho. Um, on this episode, we shall be discussing. We have a very important discussion, and it's about experience of an international student, and for those that are really willing to take the route and come to the US from any country from all over the world. And with me, I have an important guest. Oluwaseun Akintade is his name. A little introduction of himself. Um, I I hosted a music artist some a couple of weeks back, and I thought I should also say a little bit about it before we go into the interview proper. All right. So for those that are willing to, let me share my screen uh, so you just see um, his page. Tab. I'm going to show you his Facebook page, and um, and that is his Facebook page. For those that are willing to listen to his music, Toby or Shaw, you can also go on any platform, YouTube or whatever channel, Facebook page. If you put in Toby or Shaw music or Toby or Shaw, you should be able to see him. And in any way you want to support him, you can contact him. He has his message. He has his inbox there. You can send him a message to direct message him and yeah, so that is about that, and also I'm showing that is his name, Toby Osho or Toby Osho Music, uh, as the case may be. Now let's go into the interview proper. What we are here for uh, today. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Um,
Yeah, good day to everyone watching on live or gonna tune in later on. My name is Oluwaseun Akintade. I'm a recent graduate at Jackson State University, and I majored in computer engineering over my stay here. I'm from Nigeria. I was born in Ore, in Ondo State, Nigeria. So I'm from Ondo State, Nigeria. So yeah, that's just a very, very brief introduction of myself. I'm sure you get to know me a little bit more once the questions begin to come in.
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of people will be curious to know some details. Anyways, so I would like to ask you some. I know you without going into much technicality, what the course was really about, and possible areas which people can, I mean, which you can really venture into as a computer engineer, like you said.
Oh yeah, so for computer engineering, because actually while I applied, I really didn't know what the total scope of what computer engineering entailed, especially here in the US. I believe it's still something very similar to other nations. For computer engineering, it's in Jackson State University. It's really a blend between electrical engineering and computer science. So you have in the computer science part, you have to take some coding classes, and then in the electrical side, you have to take some electronics classes and some circuits classes. So as a computer engineer, you have like not 100% knowledge of the circuits, but you have a very good knowledge of like how circuits work, and then you also have a very good knowledge of how computers are programmed. So like in its own true form, computer engineering involves actually knowing the architecture, the computer architecture of each computers, of each devices, of each phones, especially technological phone devices for personal communication and all. So like for computers, you should know how what each component of the computer does, how they relate to one another, and how they actually programmed, the very low level aspects of programming, which the assembly languages, the machine languages, and all. So that's really the standalone part of computer engineering. But in a broader scope, you can consider it as a blend between electrical engineering and computer science.
Yeah, thank you. That's quite informative, because some people may be out there just wondering, just curious about, just like you said, you said you didn't have a full detail of what it really entails till you got into it, and
Mm-hmm.
so I just wanted some to have a grasp of it, and so my next question would be, how lucrative, because I found out that a lot of people have had to change their careers um, due to the, this is the West, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever applies in certain countries may not apply somewhere else. But
Right.
majorly in the Western countries, there are lucrative industries, or probably I would say careers. How lucrative is computer engineering and compared to others? Because I know the health might probably be the number
Mm-hmm.
one,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but how lucrative, and what are major areas that are very lucrative as technology wise? May not
Yeah.
generally be computer engineering, anyways.
Mm-hmm. So, like, I can speak for computer engineering. Like, something I noticed while I was in school was that computer engineering was kind of like an act, like I won't say a cheat code, but like I said, it's since it's a blend between electrical and computer engineering and computer science, you could actually get job postings or job opportunities in the electronic side, and you could also get in the computer science side, and you could get in the standalone computer engineering side. So it's like you are open to three different industries just by studying computer engineering, although you still need to do some personal development on the other aspects. But like as the major, I guess, opportunities for computer engineering involve most of the technological companies, the big tech companies, Google, Amazon, Facebook, all those companies. Like, they really look for computer engineers. And then actually, what someone told me, or what I heard also, listen, like, there's actually no industry that doesn't need a technological or computer engineering or like an IT part. So like every, including the health sector that you mentioned earlier, there's still some health specialists that each of the health specialists or each of the health like companies, they still need like technological guys who can like market their business, who can like develop websites for them, who can like
Mm.
have the core knowledge of even technology that will help drive the business forward. Because the way the world is going right now, I think every aspect is even in is are looking for like computer engineers, are looking for computer scientists, especially those two. And even now there's a rise in data analytics and all. But I would say that right now, as a computer engineer, you have access to so much opportunities in the US especially, and even beyond the US, even all around the world. Like, the world, since it's continuing and developing into the computer age. So like every sector still needs a computer engineer or still needs a technologist even in their company.
So now, what would you like for most international students? They could have their own preference of study they would really want to do, and I've had the experience of certain people that could not find a job
Mm.
after graduation. So, what had you know um, what are based on your experiences in the US, what are those courses that you advise international students to really look into, possibly something that areas here in the US that are very fertile, like if I will use that word.
So do you want me to speak like areas in computer engineering or just general areas? Like, yeah.
I wouldn't want you to digress, so you can talk about computer engineering so that I
Okay,
don't
yeah,
crack you
still
crap you
on
up.
the computer engineering side, like I said, like based on my experience, if you are not, if you are majoring in if you are majoring in electrical engineering, I will be very specific in this. If you are majoring in electrical engineering, please try and take as much computer programming classes as you can, because it will give you an edge over other electrical engineers who are just focused on the hardware side of it. So if you are computer engineering, like, the best advice I can give right now is to always focus on the coding and the programming classes. Like if you have, even if it's just like out of curiosity, you could just take a programming class, learn a thing or two about coding, because like I said, the opportunities are always there. And it gets to a point, a lot of these companies don't really care about your major. The major just gets you to the door. Is what you actually now have, like the skills that you've already developed by yourself, that will now get you through the door. So like try and take as much programming and coding classes as possible if you are interested in that. Although if you're not interested in that, still just out of curiosity, learn a little bit about it, because at the end, in the interview, you could find someone with similar interests, and that could like raise the conversation, and that could actually get you your job or get you an internship that you're actually aspiring and desiring for. So like my advice would be to take programming classes, also take the hardware classes, be serious about that. As for like computer engineering, the main classes that I would advise is there's a class called digital logic, which teaches you a low level understanding of like how the computer works, how AND gates, NOT gates, OR gates. That's kind of a bit, that's still the basic. There's still some deeper parts, but I've been taking your digital logic class very serious, and taking your programming classes very serious, because those two classes, they will get you to the door, and then what you learned in those classes will get you through the door.
Yeah, that's great. Very informative. So I usually get this question a lot here in Mississippi, especially. They will ask, how did you know about Jackson State University? So I'm going to ask you that same question. How did you know about Jackson State University?
Okay. So I don't really have. I just feel it's God. But like the way it worked was that while I was in secondary school, I started processing my coming to the US like a year after I left secondary school, and then I didn't know anything about the US. I didn't know anything about the schools. I didn't even know the difference between a PWR and an HBCU. I didn't know all those kinds of foundational knowledge. So like there was a person that helped me in just registering, because then I had no clue. So like I needed someone to help me to register for some schools, and he told me that for the SAT, that you could pick three schools that they will send your SAT score to and all, and then they will continue from there. So he just gave me the suggestions. He told me that he told me about Howard University, he told me about Jackson State University, he told me about Alcorn. He told me about Alabama, and he told me about Michigan. So those five schools, Michigan, I think it was Michigan State. So those are the five schools. But like I had a friend that was going to, I had a friend who was in my set in secondary school who was going to Howard already. So like, and he told me some things about Howard, that how he got there, and I at the current state I wasn't sure I was going to get something substantial from Howard. So I decided, okay, let me go with Jackson State. I went with Alcorn. I went with Alabama State University, I think, and then Michigan State. So Alcorn didn't even respond to me. So it was now between the three of Jackson, Michigan, and then Alabama. Jackson, Michigan, Alabama. So like I got an offer, like admission offer from Jackson. I got an admission offer from Michigan. So then the for Alabama, I got an admission offer also from the three of them. But for Alabama, I wasn't given any form of financial assistance, and the cost was a bit higher than Jackson State. Jackson State also, at that time, I wasn't given any form of assistance, but I was given an assistance in Michigan. But like the rest I had to pay for Michigan was even more than the entire thing for Jackson State. So I was like, okay, like that is just where the direction is going for, and that is why I came to Jackson State. Like I really didn't have any foundational knowledge about how the school worked. I didn't really know much about it. So it was based on like the five schools that was suggested to me by one of my the person that helped me to like register for my SAT, and then I just went from there.
Hmm, good stuff. So what are some of the advantages of schooling at Jackson State? Because a lot of people would say, "Man, what are you doing over there? What are you
Mm-hmm.
doing in Mississippi and stuff like that?" So, what do
Right.
you think is one of, I mean, some advantage if you can mention of studying in Jackson State?
In Jackson State. So for Jackson State, I would say like there are actually opportunities for you, especially number one because Jackson State is an HBCU. So like the US has been really interested in like
Yeah,
saying the
you have to break down the HBCU.
okay,
Some of my audience may not have understanding of what that means.
so HBCU is historically black colleges or university or and university. So historically black colleges and universities. So like those are schools that have been proportion, like have a large proportion, if not almost 100% proportion of blacks or African American students rather than the white or the other racial diversity, racial groups in the United States. So like there's been a lot of encouragement given towards HBCUs in recent times. Like a lot of companies have been trying to diversify their work audience or their working population, having more black faces being shown in like being involved in their company. So like a lot of companies come to the schools to like give opportunities and give accesses even to HBCUs. For Jackson State specifically, Jackson State has a high level of research opportunities also. So that's one advantage that Jackson has over some of the other HBCU. So like there's the advantage of being an HBCU, then there's the advantage of being a research HBCU, and then there are other the faculties also are very nice to the student. I don't know, I can't talk about other schools because I didn't attend any other school, but for the school I attended, the faculties are really they encourage a lot of their students even to achieve as much success as possible. And also Jackson State has like also they have master's programs, they have PhD programs, so it's not just limited to undergraduate. So if you just want to come for undergraduate, you could still have access, even like direct access even to graduate school and a PhD program at Jackson State University.
Mm. Good stuff. So I mean, so what would you say? Which would you? I mean, how would you advise someone? Like we have the big states and the small states. When I say big state by small state, I'm talking about in terms of their prowess, their financial status, how big the cities are.
Mm-hmm.
So, and comparing Mississippi to other states. Now, looking at the study, so I'm peculiar about where you can study now.
Mm-hmm.
How would you advise someone to make their preference? Big state, small state. How would you advise someone?
So like the advice I would give on a personal, like very honest level is that it depends on your funding. If you are able to, if you have enough funding or you are from a very wealthy household, you can pick whichever state. It doesn't really matter. But like if it's based on funding and the funding is not too available, I would advise going for a smaller city because number one, the cost of living is going to be way less than a bigger city. The tuition, even in the smaller states, the what you have to pay for school is actually less than what you have to pay for school in bigger cities. So I would say it's really dependent on cost and like how much you are willing to spend or how much you are willing to spend out of pocket without actually working for yourself. So if you have like access to scholarships like throughout your stay, maybe you have access to a full ride scholarship for all your 4 years, a big city would be very nice because you have more of the American experience. But if you have access to not too much funding, it's easier to come here and then begin to look for other means of funding yourself while you're already in a smaller city. So that would just be my advice to anybody that was curious on that question.
Yeah. So now the process you said a lot about school. Now, what are the process of gaining admission? I know a lot of people have to pay some agents in whatever country they come from, pay huge amount of money. Some get swindled of their money,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have. So, how would you say? What is the process? Could you just give for a layman what process they have to do to get the admission, from admission even to the immigration? Because I'm talking because international now, it could be any place outside of the United States. So,
All right.
how would you advise?
So first, it depends on the country you are from. If you are from a English speaking recognized country, you might not need to take the IELTS. It's like an English exam. But if you are not from no TOEFL, I think it's TOEFL that it's called for the US. So I think TOEFL is like an English exam that the US requires for some countries that are not English speaking. So if you are from those kinds of countries, then you start looking into registering for the TOEFL or the IELTS exams. Then if you are from a English speaking country, I can give Nigeria as an example because I'm from Nigeria, then you might not need to worry about that for most universities. Some universities still decide to go after that, but Jackson State I don't think Jackson State requires any English proficiency examination like that. So after you get that done, if you have a very good score, the next step is to decide which school you want to go to, and then you register for the SAT. Right now, the SAT is like is I've forgotten the full name, standard administration test or something. That's the SAT. I'm not exactly sure of the full definition, but like SAT is an exam that helps you to register even to the US from a different country. So once you have your SAT, you register for your SAT. I think there's an official website. I don't have that on me, but that can probably be included later on. So there's an official website for the SAT where you can just go and register. Anybody can register from any country. They ask for some basic details. So once you've registered for your SAT, there's a fee actually. I think it's maybe last time probably was $100 or $200 for registering for the SAT. So after you've registered for your SAT, then they assign an exam center to you close to wherever you put your location as. So you go over there and then you do your exam. So after you do your exam, once your result is out, then you can they ask for some schools where they are going to send your result to. So you already mentioned you can pick the schools in even in your registration. That's why I say you decide the school you want and then you decide the SAT. Then after that, you still have to individually apply to the admission of each of the schools. So you go to the official website of each of the school and apply as a regular a regular admission application. So once you've applied for that, and then they will give you like ask for some other basic information which you can provide for. Then for countries outside the US also, they're going to ask for an evaluation of your high school result if you are coming as an undergraduate. And if you even if you are coming for graduate school, I think it's something similar where they will evaluate your results to kind of balance it with what is standard in the United States. We have different services. The only one that comes to my mind is WS. I know there are other services that does result and grades and evaluations. So I know West is the only one that comes to my mind at this point, but I'm 100% sure there are other services out there. So once you do the evaluation, then you can either ask to see your result or the result to be sent even to the schools also. I think most of them they give you they give you numbers and they give you your name to that associate whatever you're sending to them. So that goes. And then so once you have once the school now receives your SAT, receives your evaluation of your result, either high school or secondary school or your university results, then they can now make a decision on an offer. So once a decision on an offer comes, some schools they automatically apply give you like they automatically assign you to scholarship, while some schools you have to actually look into applying for scholarships separately. That's if the school provides scholarship. There are some scholarships that are financial, that are need based. There are some that are academic based. So whichever one fits your profile, you can apply to that. And after you have applied to that, once you now have your admission, the next step is to the school gives you the admission. You could get multiple admission from different schools. So after you get that, it's now time for your choice. You choose whichever school that you want to go. So once you have decided on that, you now go to the international, because each school in the United States has an international office. They have like a way to contact the international office, which is usually there on their website. So you go to their international office if they have not yet reached out to you, and then you request for something called an I-20. So an I-20 is a document that clearly states that you are going to be a student here in the United States. And then it's going to show your funding. It's going to show everything that is related to your stay while you're going to be in the United States. So once you have your I-20, you can now begin to apply for an F1 visa in your individual, your home country. So your F1 visa, they are going to use information from your I-20 also in your F1 visa application. And then they are going to give you an appointment date to go for your interview. So once you now, once you've done that, then you on the interview day, obviously you be well prepared for, because they're going to ask you some questions, and then you get your I-20, you get your passport and all that you're going to need. Before you need to have a passport, obviously, before you even start any of this process. So you have your passport, you have your I-20 and some other information. Probably you can carry your admission letter and stuff like that in regards to your what you are going to be doing here, and you should know a little bit about the course you are going for. And then once you go to the interview office, the immigration and the US embassy in your country, there might be more than one, but whichever US embassy you decide to apply to and go for, they interview you. And once you are done with your interview, and if you get accepted, then you get a visa stamp your F1 visa stamp on your um on your document, on your passport. But one thing to note is that there are timelines. Like you cannot do an interview a long while before you are set to resume school. And then so you have to also keep that in mind, because you probably just get automatically rejected if you apply way too early, because they don't want you to just come and then be hanging around without going to school. So there's like a timeline in between of when you can actually go for your interview and get your visa stamp, and when your school session starts. So you can always get those information about the session starting from your international office, or from your regular admission, because your admission is going to show what year you get into the school. Another thing also to be very mindful of is always be in contact with your school. Most of the United States schools reply through emails. Some you could call them, they have phone numbers to call. So always keep in contact with them, especially the international office, because they have more experience with international students than you do. So they know some pitfalls or some things to avoid, some things to do in preparation, both for the interview and even while you are coming to the United States. Some schools might even have resources that will help you even while you are coming, that will, if you actually come to pick you in the airport and stuff. Some schools do that, not all schools though. So like just be familiar with your international office in the school that you decide to go to.
Thank you for those information. I believe someone is out there that has
Mm-hmm.
been asking and looking earnestly for this. I'm sure they will come in contact with this. So, how would you say a person should position themselves? Because at the end of the day, when you take your course of study, you also have to seek employment after you're done. So,
Mm-hmm.
how can an international student,
Mm-hmm.
how can they position themselves for employment immediately after graduation?
Okay, so the advice I would give for that is, like, once you get here, like once you land in the United States and once you begin, probably you are settled and you begin your first class, begin to look for internships. There are internships for every major. Every major has their own form of internship, where internship is basically a job that is for students, basically the way you can learn. Sometimes you get paid, sometimes you don't get paid. Don't really look into the money for now. Get the experience. The experience with internship would really help even in the future. So like I said, the first thing you need to do is look into internships. In your first, like that was one of the mistakes I made. Nobody really told me this. So like in my first year, I wasn't really looking for internships. I started looking for in my second year. That's when I was able to get an internship. So in my first year, I didn't really get a very good internship. So like in your first week or whatever, begin to look for internship. Keep in touch with current students, especially current international students who are in your school. Ask them how they've already been navigating, how they've been applying for internship. If not, still reach out on social media or on LinkedIn or some look for people who have gotten internships. Ask them how they got their internships. Specifically, look for people that have similar background with yours, similar study with yours. See the steps they took and then take something similar. So like look for internships, apply to as much internships. Usually the way most universities in the United States works is like there's the fall semester, there's the spring semester, and there's the summer. You could take summer classes, but I won't advise you take summer classes. I will advise you do internships during your summer time and then focus on class in your fall and your spring semesters. So imagine you have an internship in your freshman year, that's your first year, and you have an internship in your sophomore year, which is your second year, or your junior year, which is your third year. So by that time, you have so much experience, so much experience. Now, usually, if you do well in an internship, they always give you a return offer for you to come back for another internship. Like so, like you can now it's up to you. Once you have the first experience, you can decide if you want to diversify and try somewhere else, like apply to somewhere. Since you already have that experience, it will also give you a leg up over other applicants, even for for another role or for a different internship. So try and be as diverse as possible, but it's not compulsory. It depends. This one is like a personal choice. If you want to just do the same thing over and over, or you want to spread or diversify as much as possible. So after you have so many internships, like for undergrad, at least I can speak for undergrad. Same thing is also very similar process for graduate school. So then in your the internship you do in your junior year, which is your third year, is always very, very vital in as a college student. So like in your third year, be very careful to know the company you are picking, because once you are in your third year, The internship, you don't get a return internship offer except you want one. You get usually a full-time offer, or you don't get anything. So like, you'll be very mindful, look into those companies, what they've done in the time past. That's why if you have other people who are working in that company, maybe international students, ask them what were the process they did, what were the criteria, if you still need to do more interviews, if you don't need to do more interviews. And also in your internship, during the internship time, don't just slack off. Like, learn, improve yourself, connect, make network with people in the company, network with people even outside the company. So my advice in summary is just to get as much internships as possible. Then in your final year, now once in your junior year, if you already have an internship for your junior year, most likely you will get a return offer for full-time in your senior year. So then you can now decide if you want to go back to that company, or using that offer, you can use it as leverage even to other companies, and begin to apply to whichever one you really desire. Because now you already have, if you did everything right, you probably have like 3 or 4 internships already on your resume. So have a good resume also. So if you have that internship on your resume, then you can now apply to other companies. Other companies always like people who already have experience, so they don't want to do so much work. So if they see you have, now imagine you have 3 different big tech companies on your resume, every company will want you. You become like the talk of the town. Everybody will want like to for you to work for them. So then you can even leverage that. And another thing that is also very vital, they might not say it, but like, try and keep your grades high, because nobody will want a person that has like a less than, out of a 4.0 scale. Anybody that has like a 3 points, anything less than 3 points, you might not even be able to get an internship with. Anything less than 3 points, some 3.0. So like, be focused on your academics, but also spread out to look for internships. Keep your grades as high as possible until you graduate, and then have that internship in the bag. And then from the internship, you could get full time, or you could just apply to different full time roles with the current internship experience you have, and that will go a very long way.
Yeah, good talk. Good talk. This is very informative. Very good talk. Thank you for that. Um, we're rounding up, because I'm also looking at time to shrink it, make
Mm-hmm.
it as concise as possible for as many that will be seeing this as a playback. So now some students come to this US and they abscond. Okay, they abscond. They say, you know what? When I get to the US, I'm just gonna go start working, and everything's gonna be all right. And now, could you just explain? Because quite a lot of people don't understand the process. Once you step into this country, entire thing changes. So, could you explain some of the pitfalls? And for those that probably abscond, the challenges that is out there for you, and why you have to remain a starter. Let me. I'm not want to throw it out there. I want you to
Yeah,
do justice to
I
that. Yeah,
was I
go
was
ahead.
going to say something like that. Like, be very careful, especially with the law. Like, try, as an international student, you should not even be involved with anything police related. Like, if you get caught or anything, it could actually jeopardize your stay in the United States. So try and be in your best behavior as much as possible, because once you go out of status one way or the other, it is very, very difficult to get back into status. And by status, I mean as a student, F1 visa student holder. So once you go out of status, it's always very difficult for you to get back in status. Also, be careful of the company you keep. Number one, it's always good. I'm not trying to say you should not mingle with people who are based there, like Americans, but like, be careful of that. Also, mingle or be relate with other international people, because you guys are going through things together. They might have information that would help you, or they might have cautions that will also help you, so that you don't fall into the pitfall they might have fallen into, or something they might have had, experiences that they might have gone to. Try and avoid, like I said, don't let your grades drop, because again, if your grades get so bad, and probably you were on scholarship before, you could lose your scholarship, and then you begin to work. From working, you could get caught, and then something could just happen. So be very careful and be very mindful of that. Stay focused. Know the reason why you are here. The reason why you are here is to come to study, to come to have as high grades as possible, to have a better life for probably you, maybe even for your family who are back, or might be in your home country. So just always have that in mind. Don't get distracted. Don't get distracted, and then focus. Like I said, if you have internships, it will really help. It will really help you. it will really help you even in your stay here. So that would just be my general take about people. Like, don't come with the mind that okay, you can come and swindle the system, or you can navigate through and then break some laws and all. Just because the guys, the United States guys, they are also very smart people, so they know some of the tricks that people might have pulled off in the past. Try not to do anything suspicious that will get you even into trouble, and just stay in your lane. Don't get involved in gang activities, obviously, like that one. Just stay as far as possible from that, because that could really hurt you. It could even cost you your life, especially in some states. It could really cost you your life. So just be as cautious as possible. Be as hang around with the right people, people who are also goal driven and goal motivated, who want to do better for themselves. And then stay focused. Stay focused on education. Your number one priority is your education. So focus on education, and then you can do the others after, once you are more settled.
Thank you so much. You've been very helpful. I would like you to give your closing remarks. In closing, your closing remarks
Okay.
generally.
All right. So in closing, like, the advice I will give anybody who wants to come to the US is, don't like, the schools are there for you. The schools are there to help you. But don't say that, okay, it is this one school that I must go. If I don't go to this one school, I'm not going to go anywhere else. Like, whatever school you get to, I always say, in the United States, you have almost equal access to the opportunity that every other person in that school, in other schools even have. So, like, your choice of school is also important, but don't dwell too much on the school. The opportunities will come. Just be ready and be prepared so you can grab the opportunities. Invest on yourself. Don't always wait for what is taught in school. Spend time in learning other things, even beyond schoolwork, because that will also help. Because another thing that can help you to get internships is your personal project. Like, your GPA will help you, but your personal project will also help you. What have you done outside of school? What have you done as a group? What have you done as a collective or individually? So have that also on your resume. Also, yeah, one important thing is, like I mentioned, resume. Have a good resume, but in your first semester, have, like, probably meet resume specialists, or meet people who have been in your shoes, in your, like, in your school, and let them guide you through having a very good resume. Because without a good resume, the recruiters or the companies will not even look at your application. So, like, that is the opening door for you. That's the thing that even gets you even to the opening door. So, like, have a very good resume in your freshman year, in your first year, and then hang around with the right people. Stay focused on your education, like I mentioned earlier. Don't get involved in activities that could jeopardize your status, or that could jeopardize your stay even in the United States. Also, even if you don't get a job, like, as an undergraduate, also look into graduate school. Like, okay, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, although you might have internships, anything can happen. I was reading online of somebody who got a job offer in December, and then the job offer got rescinded, like, last week, because of some strategies and all. So don't put your eggs all in one basket. In your junior year, as you are looking for a very good internship in your junior year, also look into some good graduate schools. Like, if you are interested in that, that could also help you. And if you're already a graduate, probably a master's, you can look into PhD programs, or just be involved. Don't, like, information is something that is very key, and it might not it all information might not always come to you. So also be inquisitive, ask around, don't be shy, especially here. Like, most people are always ready to answer as much questions as you ask. Like, you could just go to the school, the teachers, your professors, ask them what are the opportunities they have access to, what are the research opportunities they have access to. They will tell you, they will let you know. So don't be quiet. Be ask a lot of questions, ask questions of people who have gone before you, ask questions of people who are currently in your school, your teachers, your faculties. Even if it's financial, go to the financial aid, ask questions. And then the opportunities will now begin to come in. So be very inquisitive while you are here in the United States. And that will just be my closing remark.
Yeah, thank you so much. Do you have an email just in case someone may want to send you a message personally to just ask, get more information? You can spell it out. Go ahead.
Yeah, my email is sakinitade@gmail.com. That's my personal email. So Sakinitade, like, there's an I between the N, so like N and T. So don't just write Sakintade, Sakinitade, Sakinitade. So that's my personal email. I will try my best as much as possible to respond with whichever questions I receive on my email.
All right. So thank you so much. It's been You've been very helpful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you
And
too.
if for those that are watching this as a playback, if you've seen it to this end, make sure you like, share with family and friends. Someone that you know needs this information, kindly share this information with them. And then we'll be rounding up. And we have said there will be also will be also I'll ensure that I've come up with some more good interviews where which is going to be educational. The essence of this is for people to learn. It's for people, as many people as more as possible to learn and gain education in one form or the other. And so we're bringing that to a wrap up, and I will catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.